Hey, good rising, YouTube. Got some questions for you today. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Oh, I got you all thinking. Got your head scratching, spinning. You scratching your head? You spinning? How you feeling? How you doing? Did I send you all ready? Good rising. Got a head spinner here, isn't it? You gotta ask yourself, what's really going on? Right? What? Right? How you feeling? Feeling like a, feeling like
If you have a piece of crack cocaine, no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you've just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they've become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. 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 Yeah. For those of you that want to know. I'm a cowboy on a steel ride. La pastichi, la papaya, do la potato. La potato. I call money, I call money, I call money. I swear in a Humvee, that's what I call y'all did. La pastichi, la papaya, do la potato. La potato. I call money, I call money, I call money. I swear in a Humvee.
Or I could be yellow, I could be blue, or I could be purple, I could be green or pink or black or white. I could be every color you like. I could be red, or I could be yellow, I could be blue, or I could be purple.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting my favorite tunes.
So, how are y'all doing? I'm pretty good.
What is this here?
That's the Earth.
That's the Earth. That's the moon?
Yes.
The eagle?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you like to do that?
Thank you all very much. The event will take perhaps a few moments. Okay. Thumbs up.
Madam Speaker, I have a question about the government funding.
Madam Speaker, I have a comment about your meeting with the president of Angola.
Society. They are in jail. Away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. They are in jail. Away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. Ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
They gotta be taken off the street. They always try to outside Rocky, and they always try to outshine Mike. They always outside me. They can't outside me. I do.
I said, Reverend, I can't put a time limit on you. You go and speak until you finished what you want to say. We are at the same crossroads again. It may be too little, too late, too late, too late. You're so envious of one another. So petty. You don't want nobody to outshine you.
Nobody else
Shine you, 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 shine you. Some people say
all white people look right.
some people say
I want to go joke. Not joking. Joking.
lead for the people. I want you to hear me. Let me say something to you. If you don't get your act together, there will be blood in the street. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. You don't want nobody to outshine you. 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 Yes, sir. The President Brennan. Yes, sir. I warned our people, they'll stop prowling the streets when you think you are safe. Listen to what is being said. Leaders who lead for the people, I want you to hear me. Let me say something to you. If you don't get your ass, there will be blood in the street.
Thank you, Sparky. Bravo! Wow!
Recently, in response to what was perceived as the dubious content of an official briefing given by State Department spokesman Ned Price, Matt Lee of the Associated Press said, "This is like crisis actors, really. This is like Alex Jones territory you're getting into now. From there, the exchanges between Lee and Price proceeded to degenerate into what can only be described as comic hilarity. What Price wouldn't dare tell or admit to either Matt Lee or to the American general public, on pain of immediate dismissal from his cushy job and career-ending public disgrace, is that the execution of such psychological operations, postmodern reality simulation aka false flags or hoaxes, as they relate to establishing a reason to prosecute a war, is nothing new in the annals of American history.
Matt, to your question, is an action that Russia has already taken.
It's an action that you say that they have taken, but you have shown no evidence to confirm that. And I'm going to get to the next question here, which is, what is the evidence that they play? I mean, this is like crisis actors, really. This is like Alex Jones territory you're getting into now. What evidence do you have to support the idea that there is some propaganda film in the making?
Matt, this is derived from information known to the U.S. government, intelligence information that we have declassified. I think you know.
Okay, well, where is it? Where is this information?
It is intelligence information that we have declassified.
Well, where is it? Where's the declassified information?
I just delivered it.
No, you made a series of allegations and statements.
Would you like us to print out the topper? Because you will see a transcript of this briefing that you can print out for yourself.
That's not evidence, Ned. That's you saying it. That's not evidence. I'm sorry.
Truth is, the sinking of the Maine in 1898 to begin the Spanish-American War, the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand which caused U.S. military intervention overseas in World War I, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941 which precipitated the U.S.'s involvement in World War II, the Gulf of Tonkin incident in 1965 which escalated U.S. military incursions in Southeast Asia, and the controlled demolition of New York's Twin World Trade Centers and Building No. 7 on September 11, 2001 which led to the U.S. invasions of both Iraq and Afghanistan. To name but just a few instances, all were deliberately staged psychological operations which were utilized as justifications for war. In addition to the fact State Department spokesman Ned Price was trained at Georgetown University, a Jesuit-founded military fortress, according to his official biography published at Wikipedia, Price has also worked at the CIA, yet another Jesuit-controlled arm of the international intelligence octopus. In essence, Price is merely the latest in a long line of Jesuit-trained prevaricators and spin masters employed by the U.S. corporate government in service to the interests of the Jesuit Superior General at the Vatican. Here's something else Ned Price is sure to never relate to the American public either. Russian Premier Vladimir Putin is a fabricated character scheme portrayed by an award-winning Hollywood actor.
I think we should say that those nominated for the best performance by an actor are
Marlon Brando in The Godfather,
Michael Caine in Sleuth,
Laurence Olivier in Sleuth,
Peter O'Toole in The Ruling Class,
Paul Winfield in Sounder. The winner is...
The purpose of U.S. government psychological operations. Though to a majority of the American public, most of whom have yet to become initiated into entertaining such ideas, the very notion of false flags, aka psychological operations, postmodern reality simulation, mentioned during an official government briefing given by a State Department spokesman may seem conceptually radical or even absurd. Nevertheless, when considered in the grander context of geopolitics on the world stage, predominance as a traditionally effective instrument of American foreign policy is not such an incredible or novel idea. But to what end does the staging of psychological operations ultimately serve? The U.S. corporate government, presented through varied formats beginning in the early 20th century such as newspapers, magazines, radio, and television, has harnessed the authoritative and influential power of the MSM and the Internet aka Jesuitical Ratio Studiorum, to execute psychological operations, to the effect of thoroughly manipulating and to even ultimately controlling public perception and consensus opinion which, within the last decade particularly, has quickly manifested into a virtual collective hive mind. Those working at the highest levels of the U.S. corporate government have always known, when the public can be steered towards supporting a war overseas against a perceived enemy, enemies which have always existed only as tools of government propaganda. Osama bin Laden aka Barack Obama, Jerry Seinfeld, existing as a prime example. They are acting in the interests of the international bankers of the Crown Temple in the City of London who own the US corporation, with the intent of influencing the thoughts and behaviors, hearts and minds, of its citizens. Behaviors which will subsequently, unwittingly but perpetually drown them in financial debt. Having strategically used the concept of war to create a new order out of a state of chaos and while causing the people to desire security and safety from perceived enemies at the expense of personal liberties, government officials can always much more easily exert control over citizens, totalitarian control they never hope to renounce or to ever relinquish. Since the era of the 1930s, with the passage of UCC 2107, the War Powers Act, the U.S. corporation has been officially bankrupt, meaning, each human resource person or corporation has been bonded as collateral against the debt owed to the Federal Reserve, a private subsidiary of the Crown Temple aka 1 Square Mile in the City of London which, in turn, is connected to the Vatican Bank aka Holy See and to the SNB Swiss National Bank. With the current rate of U.S. monetary inflation already mounting to unprecedented levels, the Crown Temple bankers remain all too well aware, in tandem with the political and financial chaos generated by the convoy protests taking place in Canada, staging a war between the US and Russia will effectively accelerate the financial decline of the West and relegate America to essentially permanent third world status. Despite, for now, human resources have managed to retain their free will over how their commercial behaviors are directed, very soon, unless they collectively choose to withdraw their legal consent, this comfortable reality to which they've become accustomed will inevitably grind to a crashing halt. Soon, within less than a decade, per the UN Sustainability Goals of Agenda 2030, with the global implementation of the graphene oxide blockchain cryptocurrency brain surveillance interface financial system based on body activity, human resources will find themselves no longer able to exercise autonomy or free will over how they choose to spend their finances. To paraphrase the words of WEF chairman Klaus Schwab, aka King Harald V of Norway, everyone will own nothing while made to believe they are still happy, or else. How did this grim reality come to fruition? The answer, the Jesuits' Ratio Studiorum, aka SM, Internet, and a phenomenon called sentient world simulation, aka postmodern reality simulation. Sentient world simulation. According to an article published at emerge.com, Sentient World Simulation is a program based out of Purdue University's Synthetic Environment for Analysis and Simulation Laboratory. Reportedly, SWS is a governmental unit of the NSA, National Security Agency, which gathers boundless amounts of information on Americans under the guise of fighting crime, by predicting criminal behavior before it is committed and to predict behavioral responses to propaganda and government-inflicted terror. The article at emerge.com goes on to detail, SWS relies on keeping tabs on citizens and gathering data by tracking phone calls, credit card receipts, social networks, GPS tracks, internet searches, Amazon purchases and EZ-Pass records. The program SWS, reports emerge.com, has amassed databases so profound they can now look so deep into a person's life they can predict their thoughts and future actions with relative certainty. The creation of AI-based programs such as SWS enables the MSM to accurately predict how a targeted population demographic is likely to react to the ongoing narrative of any particular news story, even before it is released for public consumption. In truth, as the article at emerge.com more than implies, similar AI systems, like those AI projects at Microsoft, for example, have been influencing the social and political behaviors of American society for longer than most would like to admit. Now, in the 21st century, and with the Obama administration's repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act, the role of AI systems in shaping the narratives of propaganda, psychological operations which are targeted at segments of the American population has grown to become quite standard. But what the article at emerge.com fails to report is that strict and routine applications of postmodern reality simulation, aka psychological operations, using AI programs such as the NSA's SWS are merely a modern-day manifestation of the Jesuit order's Ratio Studiorum, a fact State Department spokesman Ned Price, given he was trained at Jesuit-founded Georgetown University, would certainly well understand. According to Wikipedia, the Ratio ATQ Institutio Studiorum Societatis Jesu, the official plan for Jesuit education, often abbreviated as Ratio Studiorum, Latin, Plan of Studies, was a document that standardized the globally influential system of Jesuit education in 1599. It was a collection of regulations for school officials and teachers. Wikipedia goes on to add, the work was the product of many hands and wide experience, but it most directly derives from the efforts of an international team of academics of the Collegio Romano, the Jesuit school in Rome. Today, over 5 centuries later, the Jesuits' Ratio Studiorum has manifested into what has become more familiarly known as the Internet. In combination with the MSM and the ubiquity of digital social media platforms, the Society of Jesus is able to continually operate a full-spectrum dominance of triangular psychological warfare from their headquarters at the Vatican in Rome. With complete control over intelligence gathering, mass surveillance-oriented organizations such as CIA and NSA, with control over digital social media platforms and related social media influences through their hegemony over Silicon Valley, which is closely tied to Jesuit-founded Santa Clara University, as witnessed by the public's virtually uniform fearful reactions to COVID-19 pandemic propaganda. Over the last 2 years, the Ignatian Society of Jesus and its Superior General has been able to significantly widen the scope of their Ratio Studiorum into a system of triangular psychological warfare, consisting of the Internet, social media platforms, and the MSM, to bind an emotionally vulnerable and psychologically infantilized American public together into a virtual collective hive mind, one which is rendered reliant upon the U.S. corporate government for not only crisis solutions, but for its financial sustenance and for its personal safety and security.
The holiday photo call, leader one, no one else done, shirt off, fish in hand. Welcome to Vladimir Putin's summer break in Siberia. These state pictures designed to boost the president's popularity, the strongman image central to his sky-high ratings among Russian people. We found time for open water swimming in the freezing mountain lake. Driving machines at speed. And spearfishing. A Kremlin spokesman quoted as saying, the president chased a particular pike for 2 hours before, of course, snaring it.
Vladimir Putin exists only on TV. For decades, US government propaganda has sold the idea to the American public that the US and Russia have existed as mortal enemies. In truth, both the US and Russia are merely corporate subsidiaries of a global corporation controlled by the Crown Temple in the City of London and the Vatican in Rome, which, in turn, is controlled by the military order of the Society of Jesus and its Superior General. Meanwhile, however, here's something else even more dramatic that the Jesuit-trained State Department spokesman Ned Price will certainly never dare reveal to either the AP's Matt Lee or to the American general public. Ear biometric, facial recognition, and extensive image comparison analyses confirms, the current Russian premier, Vladimir Putin, is a fabricated character scheme portrayed by Hollywood actor Marlon Brando. Before being modified into Vladimir Putin, earlier, during his career in Hollywood, Marlon Brando was modified into Hollywood actor Burt Reynolds. The fabricated character scheme known as Burt Reynolds, aka Marlon Brando, has also been modified, with generous latex stippling strategically applied to portions of the facial geometry to better conceal the identity of the host actor, live-action role player, into the popular television talk show host known as Dr. Phil McGraw. Turns out, further and extensive ear biometric, facial recognition, and image comparison analyses confirms, Marlon Brando is hiding an even darker family secret. A close family relation of Brando's, Hollywood actor Rod Steiger, has been identified as the live-action role player who portrayed the fabricated character scheme known to world history as former Russian leader, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Strongly suggest that you wake the fuck up.
Mr. Trudeau, the federal court has ruled that the Emergency Act was unconstitutional. Would you resign or apologize to Canadians for violating their rights?
General, we are covered. Good.
That was Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau being scurried away into a car with questions of accountability being thrown his way. Canada's Liberal leader is in hot water this week after a federal court ruled that his decision to invoke the Emergencies Act in February 2022 was unreasonable. These were put in place after thousands of truckies protested for 1 month against the government's coronavirus vaccine mandate when driving to and from the United States. The court ruling read, the federal government's decision to declare a public order emergency under the Emergencies Act in early 2022, as well as the associated regulations that it enacted, were unreasonable and were not justified on the facts or the law. The regulations violated the Charter right to freedom of expression and the right to be secure against unreasonable search or seizure. But the Trudeau government isn't happy with this court ruling. In fact, it will appeal it. Trudeau's finance minister stood behind the government's decision to invoke these controversial powers.
We faced, as a country and as a government, an incredibly serious threat.
2 years ago, when the Trudeau government decided to invoke the Act, it was met with severe backlash.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
Those in power only see me as a brute, unfit for higher office. But I follow in the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Caesar.
Evil minds that plot destruction.
The reason why this announcement was met with such criticism is because while the Act was introduced in 1988, it had never been used before, as it was reserved for such extreme cases of anarchy. It was chaotic scenes for 1 month in downtown Ottawa when up to 1,000 vehicles, including trucks and cars, parked in the streets to protest against Canada's regulation that you had to be vaccinated from coronavirus in order to cross into the United States. Trudeau claimed at the time that it had to be done because the convoy protests were inundating the streets of Ottawa and causing major supply chain issues both in Canada and the US.
Well, what went through his head is this is making me look bad. This protest is making me look bad. It has to stop. The most extreme cases, that's of course what they say all the time. And you sit there and you're a conspiracy if you point out that, hey, this can easily be abused. This wording is very vague.
And while after a month the protests were done and dusted, Trudeau's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act weighed on the minds of so many angry Canadians. That's because not only do this act give police more power to remove and arrest protesters, it also gives the government the ability to seize the assets, the bank accounts of those who are refusing to move on from the scenes. This use of power prompted Trudeau to be labelled a tyrant with many questioning whether this decision was an abuse of power.
Of course it is. It's amazing. This is how all government works, not just in Canada. It's here in the United States. It's everywhere. The government tramples on people's rights. And then almost 2 years later, the courts say, you can't do that. Well, they've done it, and then they stopped doing it. They've walked away. They treated it like, a blackjack dealer at shift change in Vegas, where they nothing to see here. They walk away. They've been trampled on the rights. They took away the bank accounts, and they seized